Hey, good evening, everybody. It is 7 o'clock on Sunday. I don't know if you can see it, but like right there, we can't even see my hand right there. See it? Having weird stuff going on with my camera. I don't know what it is. It's annoying. So it's going to distract me the entire evening. I can tell you that right now. Like I'm looking at it right now, it's distracting me. It is what it is. So yeah, weekend's almost over. Work week's going to start in less than 24 hours. We're back to the grind. I still haven't hit lotto. So there's that. Um, we'll just want to get into it real quick before we go any further. Ray St.Clair, the pastor, was going to be on today, but he lives out in the Midwest, southern part of the Midwest. And we just spoke. He's having some serious flash flooding where he lives. His power's out and his signal's very weak at best. So we're not going to have him on. I'd rather him be safe and his family be safe and they can take care of what they got to take care of. Can always reschedule it. It's not a big deal. So we can blame the weather for that. Damn weather. So yeah, we'll probably try to get him on next Sunday. We'll figure something out. I always do. I'm pretty resilient that way. But yeah, he's got more to deal with than he needs. That doesn't need to be on this. He's got to deal with that. So send some good thoughts and prayers his way to his family and him, and let's hope that flash flooding dissipates quickly and there's no damage and everybody's safe. It's been crazy weather. I can only imagine what the winter's going to be like. It's probably going to be horrible, like blizzards and woolly mammoths and stuff like that. If it's anything like what's going on now, um, but don't worry, I will come up with something and keep everybody entertained. I always do. It's my job. So let's get right into the breaking news. I'm sure you've all heard about this. It happened earlier today. A lone gunman drove his truck into a church for the Latter-day Saints, got out and opened fire. I think he hit and wounded 10 people. And the last thing I read, 2 people had died because of that. He killed 2 people and then deliberately set fire to the church. As of the last update I saw, I think the fire is under control, if not out, and they're going through the rubble. They've released some information about the subhuman that did this, and I'm only going to say his name one time. That's it. His name is Thomas Jacob Sanford, a 40-year-old resident of Burton, Michigan. He was identified as the perpetrator of the deadly attack at the church. Allegedly, he rammed his vehicle into the church doors, opened fire with an assault-style rifle. Well, they're just saying that to, drum up drama. Any rifle you use shooting at somebody becomes an assault rifle. And he set the building on fire, killing 2 people and injuring 8 others. He was later killed in the shootout with police. So at least they killed him. That's a good thing. He was a Marine who served in Iraq from 2004 to 2008. He was married with a young son, and an online fundraiser was created in 2015 to support his son's treatment for a rare medical condition. Records indicate Sanford made donations to the Democratic Party on multiple occasions. Not that that matters. I don't know why people are worried about what party he's a member of. Doesn't matter. I wouldn't care if he was a Republican. What he did here sums him up, not his political leanings. What he did to other people, how I'll remember him. I could care less about his party. That's just unnecessary fodder, just to drum up more bullshit for people. I mean, like what he did isn't enough. Let's go ahead and tell him what his political leanings were, because that's what's really important, not what he did, who he voted for, and who he sent money to. You know what? We all know the liberals are lunatics. We know it. So we don't need to hear about it every time something bad happens. Oh, he was a liberal. We know that. That's automatically assumed at this point. If someone hurts somebody else or destroys property, we automatically assume that they're liberal. We don't need to be told. They're just like, oh, yeah, I already knew that. And that's what's really sad about the whole situation, that's what we assume. But it is, like I said, it's facts. And beyond that, I'm just upset that what he did. I'm more upset for the people he killed, the people he wounded. Like I said, I don't care about his political party. It's a given at this point. I don't need to hear it. But the violence is getting out of hand. And once again, It's perpetrated by the left. I challenge anybody to show me any time in history where Republicans or people on the right have committed as many violent crimes against people than that the liberals have committed in the last year, 2 years, 3 years. You're not going to be able to compare the two. Liberals are crazy, and they're proving it. I don't know what's going on with the world. I don't have the answers. I don't think anybody does at this point. I think it's just protect yours and your own and do what you can to help, but don't ever forget that it's out there waiting to get you. And that may sound alarmist, it may sound dramatic, but it's the truth. You can't even go to church now and not be worried about someone coming in with a gun and killing you. I mean, where can you go now and not feel like, oh, I gotta look over my shoulder, I gotta know what I'm doing, who's here, who's there? Where can you go nowadays and not have that feeling? Nowhere. Everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. And it's sad. It wasn't that long ago where this wasn't a concern. None of this was a concern that long ago. Now, like I said, wherever you go, you got to be aware, situationally aware, no matter where you go. You can't afford to just ignore facts. It's pretty sad. Here's some news that might shock some people. There's a war going on in Ukraine with them and Russia, and apparently things are being blown up and bombed. In other news, water is wet. It's a war. Wars are horrible. They're not fun. They're not romantic. They're not exciting. They're destructive and horrible. So I don't know why this is news. Well, I know why it's news, because they got to drum up support for Ukraine so we can keep sending them billions of dollars to be involved in a war that's not our concern. So they're going to keep talking about this and showing us as pictures. But at the end of the day, it's a war. I don't know why anybody's shocked about what's going on. Russia struck Ukraine with the largest aerial bombardment of the 3.5-year war, hitting a government building in the heart of the capital for the first time. Russia fired 13 missiles and launched more than 800 attack drones. It's a war. I don't know why people are still making this news. Doesn't involve us. The outcome will not affect us. After this war, Russia's not going to move on to take over the rest of Europe. They're not going to have the money or the equipment to do that for years after this. I've said it before. They have depleted almost everything they have fighting Ukraine. If it wasn't for North Korea sending the ammunition, they'd have no more ammo. They don't have the guns, the money, or the equipment anymore after this to do anything. So I don't know why everybody's saying if we don't stop them here, they're going to take over Europe. After this, they couldn't fight off a cold. I'm telling you, they're not going to be a force to be worried. We need to be watching China. China. Nobody's watching China. That's the sad part. That's what's crazy. It's China. But we're not going to worry about China. Let's worry about Russia and Ukraine. But again, it's a war. I'm sorry it's going on. They're horrible. I'm sorry people are dying, but it's a war. Things are going to get blown up. People are going to die. It's horrible, and it needs to stop. But at the end of the day, it's got nothing to do with us. Nothing. The Democrats, not so long ago, hated Ukraine. Now they love them. We just need to be very careful. Stop sending them money. Give them some ground rules to play by, then stay out of it. Stop sending them money. It's not for a worthy cause. And it's going to keep going on. How long was Russia and Afghanistan for? 12 years? 20 years? Some crap like that. This is going to draw out and be just like that. And then they'll just leave one day. And then it'll start up again. And there will always be war over there. That's the sad part. That's the sad thing. But it's the truth. And we're not going to end it. We just need to make sure it stays local and doesn't spread. That's what we should be doing. Beyond that, make sure they don't get into Europe and do crap like that. Here's some exciting news. He dropped out of the mayor race for the New York mayor. Well, the only concern with that is he's I think what I've read, he's endorsed the communist, the anti-Jew communist who's running for mayor. He's going to endorse him. So it's just another shit show that's going to stay a shit show. We need just to wall off New York. Now, what was that movie? Escape from New York, where they walled it off. That's what we need to do. Let them live in their, wallow in their own misery. Doesn't involve us. We can't save them. They don't want to listen to reason. Be done with them. Just like California, be done with them. Wall them off, make them their own country, and let them deal with it themselves. We got to stop trying to save stupid people from their stupid decisions, because they're stupid people and they're not going to listen to us. They think they know better. So they're going to elect a communist in New York who hates Jews. And you got the idiot, I don't know if you heard about that or what he said lately, Gavin Newsom in California, who said he went to a restaurant today or yesterday, and everybody, not just one or two people, he said all the restaurant employees stopped what they were doing, ran up to him crying and hugging him and saying they were scared of Donald Trump. They needed to run for president. And you know what's really funny is people will believe that truly happened. That's what's funny about all this stuff, that there are morons out there that will believe that happened to that Gavin Newsom, that an entire restaurant staff stopped what they were doing, ran up to him with tears in their eyes, their hands out, begging him to save them and to run for president of the U.S. because only he could save us. Man can't run his own state. Let one of the biggest cities in his state burn. He's got riots happening all the time. He's fighting law enforcement from enforcing laws in the land. But these morons wanted to run for president. Can you imagine the state of this country if he actually got elected president? It would be a comic. It would be a horror movie. It would not end well for anybody, because you all know, as California goes, the rest of the nation goes. Or at least Maryland. That's like our big sister state. So whatever California does, our idiot governor wants to follow right behind. Like, okay, I'll do that too. Here I come, George. Let me do it, George. It's pathetic. But yeah, they wanted to run for president. Apparently, restaurant workers stopped what they're doing and cried to speak with him. He's like the second coming. If it weren't true, it would be funny. I mean, really, if that weren't true, like it was some movie plot, we'd all be laughing our ass off. Oh, look at that. That's ridiculous. But it's true. At least what he said it is true. Like I said, I don't think that happened. I don't think he's getting emails and calls from thousands of people every day begging for him to run for president because of Trump. I don't believe any of that. I believe he's trying to hype up a following, so he's making stuff up. Like most liberals do. Liberals are not the most honest people on the face of the planet. They like to embellish. Like I said, if it weren't true, it would be funny. But it's true. He's saying it. And like I said, I don't believe it's true. Hopefully, if it did happen, it's like one or two people who are probably illegal aliens begging for him to save them from ICE. I don't think the entire restaurant staff was crying and weeping openly because he was there and they wanted him to run for president. I don't believe that. And if you believe it, that's great. I think you're a schmuck if you believe that, but okay. It's your life. You can do whatever you want to do. I am not going to judge you at all. So there's that. So like I said, Pastor Ray St.Clair won't be here this evening. Sorry about that. So I am going to do my best to ad-lib this show. I had everything set up to have him and talk to me. He's got some major issues going on. I'm more concerned about him than I am about this. So I'm going to push through like a trooper, and hopefully we'll have a good time. All five of us will have a good time. Again, the chat's open. If you have any questions for me about anything, literally anything, because I have nothing planned really, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So if you ask a question, we'll talk about it. There were some things I had planned, so I'm going to try to stick to them and go with those, but it's all good. And I forgot to say anything. I am Seth Eisenberg. You can see that down here. Oh, there's my hand. My hand disappeared. There it is. There's my hand. And this is the conservative corner. So hopefully you're in the right place with the right person. If you're not hang out for a while, you might like it. You might not. I don't know. Oh, well, we can talk about this to start off with. I was in the hospital again Friday night, all night Friday, most of the day Saturday. Apparently, I cut my foot on something, and not just like a little cut. Like there was a, and this is a little graphic, so I apologize. There was like a huge flap of skin hanging off my foot, like a book. It opened like a book. You can't see because my hands disappear. It opened like a book. The only way I knew what had happened is I was walking through my kitchen and my sock felt like it was wet. So I thought I'd stepped in some water, like I dropped an ice cube and it melted. So I looked behind me and on my kitchen floor, there was like 5 or 10 bloody footprints. So of course I flipped out, looked down at my sock and it was soaked. I could have wrung the blood out of my sock. Apparently it was very sharp because it wasn't like a tear or jagged. It was like a slice, like when you slice meat, sliced. Couldn't stop the bleeding. I mean, I think I went through a whole roll of paper towels and a towel, and it just would not stop. There's blood on, still have blood stains on my carpet in the living room. It's old. I got to get a new carpet anyway. And I was sitting down, wrapped up, had to call a friend of mine to drive me to the hospital because I couldn't get to the hospital. I was just bleeding too much. So I got to the hospital, checked in. It was a Friday night, but it wasn't busy. So I sat there for 3.5 hours before someone saw me. This is Frederick Health Hospital in Frederick, Maryland. If you're familiar with Maryland or Western Maryland, that's the area I live in. So I got in there after 3.5 hours, back in the waiting room, the holding cell, whatever you want to call it, in the emergency room. I think I saw a PA came and looked at my foot. So we're just going to clean it out and we're going to wrap it. You'll have to go to the VA to have them do more and that's all she said. So a nurse came back. Literally, I don't think the nurse had ever seen a human being in their life, had no idea how to wrap my foot, didn't know how to clean it. So I was there for another 3 hours while he asked questions on how to do it. They didn't give me any antibiotics. They did give me pain medicine because it hurt. It hurts now. I can feel my heartbeat in it. And then sent me home. Yeah. So the the short of this story is if you live in Frederick, Maryland, avoid Frederick Health Hospital at all costs. Seriously. Drive the other 30 minutes the opposite way to go to Carroll County General Hospital if you're between the two of them. Or if not, I would drive the other extra 45 minutes past Frederick Health Hospital and go to Meritus Hospital in Hagerstown. I would avoid Frederick Hospital at all costs. I'm not alone in that. A lot of people have stopped going there because of that. They drive the extra distance for emergencies because it's just not worth it. It is a shithole of a hospital run by incompetent people. And it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, before someone dies there in the waiting room waiting for help. There were people there while I was there. Literally, I was talking to who had been there for 9 hours waiting to be seen by a doctor. 9 hours. While I was there, 3 people left because they'd been waiting too long and said they were going somewhere else. That's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the only reason I stayed there is, like I said, a friend had to drive me. I had no alternative. I wasn't going to have them drive all over God's great creation to get me help. And I was still kind of bleeding, so I didn't want to take the chance. Looking back on it, had I just driven the extra half hour past, I could have been at my VA hospital with actual doctors and nurses that know what they're doing and probably would have spent the same amount of time with the drive to go there and come home. So in the future, that's what I will do. Again, Frederick Health Hospital is a joke. I would not go there. And I don't want to get emails or calls from people to tell me, oh, I've been there before and they're great. I don't care. I'm not asking your opinion. I'm not looking for an explanation. I'm telling you what my experience was for the second time that I've gone there for an issue. Both times were a joke. Both times I swore not to go back there. And the only reason I went back to this time again because it's closer and a friend drove me. So save your explanations and how great it is for somebody who cares. I don't. And if you're just joining us, like I said, Pastor St.Clair lives in the Midwest. Where he's at is experiencing some serious flash flooding. His power's flickering on and off. His signal's weak. So we decided it's in his best interest and his family's interest to hunker down and do what he's got to do to protect them and make things safe. We can always do this again. He can come on anytime he wants to. He's more than welcome. I had him on before. I was on that other thing, and he was great. We had a blast. So I understand why he can't, and our prayers and good thoughts are with him that they weather through this and everything is fine and there's no damage and life goes on tomorrow. So if you're hoping to see him, I'm sorry, you're stuck with me again, but we'll have a good time. So yeah, that was my experience at the hospital. Again, stay away from that hospital. Frederick. Well, I keep saying Frederick Memorial because that's what it was called before it was purchased by whoever purchased it. Now it's Frederick Health. Stay away from it. Literally, don't go there. I'm not exaggerating. You can check out the reviews they have. I think over like 70% are like 1 star. They are horrible reviews. They ain't lying. So what I wanted to talk about with Pastor Ray was some things that had crossed my mind, and he has a master's in theology. So he, in my opinion, he is the expert, the only expert I know. I've called him in the past with questions I've had, and he's always been very nice, very friendly. He never seems like I've bothered him. I'm sure I've asked stupid questions. Very gracious man, and I can understand why he does what he does. So I want to go over what I wanted to talk with him and give you my opinion on him. And then when we get him back next week, we can redo it again with his opinion, which probably is more important than my opinion. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is marriage rates in the country. As you can see, in 2024, they had dropped from 1940, when it was at 80% of people were married, to 2024, where only 50% of, it was like 50% of people were married. Now, why is that important? It's important, and again, I'm going to talk about religious things and political things, but don't take me as the final say on religious things. Again, when Pastor Ray St.Clair can come on, we'll ask him, but this will be my opinion. It's important because the family is the foundation for everything else in this country. And I'm not speaking about the world. I'm going to speak to this country. Your family is where you draw your strength from. It's where you have your reasons for doing what you do. Like when I go to work in the morning, I don't work for the company I work for. I work for my family. I'm there to provide for them. The company I work for, and I'm not trying to be rude or crass, I don't care about. If they fold up tomorrow, it'll be an inconvenience until I can find another job, but that's not my heart and soul. It's not important to me. My family, my son is my daughter, my grandkids, those are what's important to me. That's why I do get up every morning at 5:30 to go to work. Not because I want the company stocks prices to go up or I want my CEO to like me. It's because I want to feed my family, I want to keep a roof over their head. Now, religiously, it's important because that's what God wants you to procreate, wants you to have children, live long and multiply, be fruitful. And again, it boils down to strength. That's where you draw your strength from. And kids need that mother, father. They need to have that. And studies have shown kids that come from mother, father households, and I mean a woman and a man, fare much better later in life than their counterparts. As a matter of fact, children with a father fare much better. If you take the father out of the equation, incarcerations rates go up, high school dropout rates go up, teen pregnancy goes up, drug use goes up. It's important. And I'm not saying that, mothers are horrible. I'm saying they complement each other, like yin and yang. You need to have one and you need to have the other. Fathers are there to set that bar. For boys, for sons, fathers are there to teach their sons what a man should be. That is how they will model themselves. How dad acts is how I'm going to be. So if you have a father, for example, who's an alcoholic and abusive, and all his son sees is him beating his mom or drinking all the time and not working, not supporting the family, he will grow up more often than not thinking that's how men are supposed to be. That's why we get the cycle of abuse. He will do the same things he saw. Are there exceptions to that rule? Most certainly. There are a lot of people I know who grew up in homes like that are not like that at all. So I'm not saying that's it. If that's how you grow up, you're done. The die is cast. Your life is set. Sorry, I got a drink. I don't know if it's antibiotics that got me on because of my foot, because of the big cut, but I got cotton mouth. Like I am constantly, I could drink this whole can of soda and 2 seconds later, I'll have cotton mouth again. It's a real treat. But back to what I was saying. Now, if the son grows up with a father who's, supports his family, loves his wife, loves his kids, spends time with them, supports them, goes to work and interacts with them in a positive manner, again, that son is going to grow up with that bar set high, and that's how he's going to act. He's like, that's how dad acted. That's how I need to be. That will be his role model. That's why it's important to have both mom and dad. Am I saying single moms are horrible? No, I've said that a minute ago. They're not horrible. But that's like having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with no peanut butter. It's still kind of good, but it could be better. That's what I mean. Dad's like peanut butter, mom's like jelly. You put them together, you got a great sandwich. Seriously, and I'm not trying to be funny. It's the best analogy I have. Now, if you take moms out of the equation, children don't fare as well, like again, as they would in a two-parent household. Moms are there to teach, empathy and understanding, how to deal with other people in a good way. Not that fathers don't, but that's what moms are there for, more of the emotional support. Fathers are there for more of the logical support. That's why you need both of them. If you don't have a mom in the house, you're probably going to grow up being a very, probably, I'm not saying it's guaranteed. You're going to grow up probably very distant from people. You're going to be angry. You're not going to be trusting, and you're going to be very standoffish. Not all the time. There's exceptions to every rule. So that's why it's important to have both mom and dad. And like I said, religiously, that's how God wants it. That's how it's supposed to be. There's no questions, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is it. Just being a human, no person is an island. You can't function by yourself forever. That's why we have communities, because people join together. They need to be around other people. So having a family is natural. Being a husband is natural. Raising children is natural. The left doesn't like that because that takes away from them. That takes away from the government. If you have a wife and you have kids, and again, like I said, and I'm only speaking for me, I can't speak for anybody else. But for me, that's my strength. My son and my daughter are my strength. That is the sole reason I do whatever I do, to make sure they have, if they need, and more to the point, that they don't need because they'll have. The government wants you to depend on them. The left wants you to depend on them. They should be your God. You should worship at the altar of the government. Anything you need, they're going to supply you. That's why if you're a single parent, you can get money from the government, so you don't need no man, or you don't need no mom. You just get to suck on the government tit, and they'll support you. What people don't understand is if you do that, one hand giveth, the other hand taketh away. They can cut you off. If you get so dependent and they can cut you off, then you're done. That's why it's important to have a self-sustaining family. That's why God wants it that way. Depend on God and no one else. Him and your family. That's where your strength comes from. And that's why the left fights it. And that's why I think Charlie Kirk was killed. I don't think he was killed for political views, because he's not the only person that had those views. I mean, really. Is he the only person that think transgender people have a mental illness? No. Is he the only person that think that college is a scam? No. Is he the only right-wing lunatic that's out there? No. Is he one of the few people that go out in public and speak about God and Jesus? Yes. Is he only one of the few people that go out there and defend the Bible and explain it to people? Yes. And that's why I think he was killed. I think, I don't want to say offended. Guilty, maybe. Guilty, angry, and scared. The people he were talking to that heard what he was saying, like the guy that shot him. Maybe he was scared that he was right. Maybe the Bible's right, he was thinking. Maybe I am in trouble. I mean, I'm living with a man who dresses like a woman. I don't agree with anything he says. What if he's right? What if there's a God? What if I have committed these sins and I keep committing them? What's going to happen? Oh, I don't want to. Screw him. I'll kill him. That'll make things better. And that's probably what the sicko was thinking. I'm not a sick person, so I can't speak to his thoughts, but that's what I imagine. The conversation he had in his head while he was naked, sitting his own feces, talking to his dog. Guy was crazy as a shithouse rat. That's why I think he was killed. I think a lot of people didn't like him because he was steadfast in his religious beliefs. And I can respect that. I do. I think anybody in this day and age that stands up and says, hey, God said this, Jesus says this, I love them both, and that's how I live my life, I respect. That's, in this day and age, obviously, that takes some intestinal fortitude to do that. So I respect that. I don't think he should have died for it. But then again, we're talking about a deranged, twisted segment of society, and we're never going to figure them out. Even if the guy left a 9,000-page letter that explained out every reason why he killed Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, would any of us go, oh, that makes perfect sense. I understand why he did it now. Okay. Yeah, no. Nothing he would say, or nothing with this guy that did the church thing today, lit it on fire and shot and killed 2 people. Nothing he would say would make us go, oh, that makes sense. I completely understand why you did that now. I can empathize. I think it boils down to a hatred of God. And again, I could be wrong. I'm not an expert. That's why I wanted to have Pastor St.Clair here. He might be able to shed more light on that than I can, and next weekend we'll have him. But that's what I think. Again, I don't think Charlie Kirk was a pioneer in what he believed in as far as political beliefs. I don't think he's the only person. But I do think, again, that he was one of the few people that was that steadfast in his religious beliefs in God and spoke about it publicly. Again, I think that's why he was killed. He was all for the family. He was, raising children, going to church, man and woman. He was all for that. And I think that's what drove the sicko to kill him, unfortunately. So I hope more people fill in that void. And I hope they fill that void in that he left because they feel exactly like he felt, not because they're trying to get YouTube famous, not because they're going for likes or trying to get viral. And unfortunately, I think that's the reason a lot of the people are doing what they do, simply because they're trying to get famous. And I hope I'm wrong, but I've seen a few of them, and it's just like they want to argue. And they want to be just like Charlie rather than be just like themselves. So I don't know. Time will tell. But that's why I think the family's important. And again, let me show that graph in case you didn't see it. You can see back in the 40s, almost 60% of people were married. 2024, 47.1% are married, of marrying age, the marriage rate. That is scary low. And again, I think it's because the libs have destroyed the family unit. I think they've destroyed it because, again, they want everybody to worship at the altar of the government, but because it's religious. We all know libs don't like religion, unless it's Islam. Then they're all for it. Christianity, not so much. Judaism, not so much. Muslim, they're all for. So that's why I think marriage is important. Again, it gives you a foundation. It gives you a reason to do what you do. And I don't know if anybody out there is a father or a mother. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. There are times when being a parent is like mind-numbingly annoying. I get it. Kids can test your inner gangster. I get it, but it's worth it. It's worth it. I've never looked back on being a father, and I'm not the best father. I'm never going to tell you that I was like, father of the year. I've made plenty of mistakes, but I can honestly say, looking back, I don't ever remember a time where I wish I wasn't the father. So I hope you all feel the same way if you're a parent. Again, the chat's open. Put something in there so I don't got to ramble on by myself. I will answer any questions today about anything, on topic or off topic. It doesn't matter. If you put it in there, we will talk about it. So here's some of the roles I was talking about earlier with a father and a mother. Fathers being the head of the family. That's biblical. That's how it is. Fathers are, head of the family, and they work to provide all the needs for the family. That's how it has been, always will be. Mothers, they manage the house, direct, the family together. There's where I kind of disagree, pull off. Minister necessary discipline actions when such are needed. That's always been dad. I don't know how many of you grew up with, your mom saying, wait till your dad gets home, or I'm going to call your father and tell him. Those were the most feared words you could ever hear when you were a kid. I'm going to tell your father. So I kind of disagree with that. I'm not saying mothers can't. I'm saying traditionally it's always been dad. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Wait till I tell your father. Boy, that used to scare the hell out of me. But looking back on it, I'm glad I was disciplined. I'm glad my father used a belt. Who knows how I would have turned out, or my brother would have turned out, if my father and mother didn't discipline us. We could have been shooting up churches. Hell, we could have been liberals. Who knows? Could have been horrible. So I'm glad. And again, the Bible's about discipline. If you love somebody, you care about what they do. You care about them messing up and making mistakes because you don't want them to continue to do that, so you correct them. If you don't love somebody, you don't care what they do. You don't care if they're going out and robbing and stealing and doing drugs because you don't care. You don't love them. It doesn't matter to you what happens to them. So I think it's important to discipline, not abuse. I am not for abuse at all in any way, shape, or form. I am for corrective discipline. I am pro-belt. I am pro-spanking. I don't see a problem with it. Again, I do not condone abuse. I think a swat on the ass when you step out of line is a good idea. I think it helps. I don't think, little Johnny, go sit in the corner for 10 minutes and then we'll talk about it when you're done. For that 10 minutes, little Johnny's thinking about how can I do this again and not get caught? So yeah, I am pro-discipline, anti-abuse. That's a big, big difference. Please keep that in mind. All right, let's take a break real quick. I'll come back and we'll talk about other things. And again, jump on the chat if you want to say something. I will respond.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
So yeah, like I said, we have really good podcast. I don't know if y'all can see the chat. Damon Galdo has Damon the Hammer. I call him the Hammer just because he's from Jersey. He has a podcast and a radio show. Great guy, very smart, knows what he's talking about, worth watching and listening to. Alexandra Levine is our White House correspondent. She has 2 shows during the week. Last week, she was kind of tied up, and I think this week she's going to be tied up too because she's Jewish and the high holidays are here. So she's spending them with her family, which is completely understandable. If you've seen my last name, yes, I am Polish. So I adhere to, I come from a Jewish family, so I'm a very bad Jew. I don't practice. I should. My father was a practicing Jew, so I know about all the high holidays. She needs to participate with her family in them. That's great. Good. I probably should be calling my father on that day and saying, hey, I think it's Yom Kippur is coming up. So I'm wishing that and my aunt and his family, good holidays. And I do. I'm a good son. Like I said, my father and mother raised me right. So this next segment, we're going to talk about religion and politics. Should they mix? Do they mix? What responsibilities do politicians have, and what responsibilities do pastors and preachers and reverends and fathers and rabbis have to their people? There's a thing called separation of church and state. It's freedom of religion. And I like to say it doesn't say freedom from religion, it's freedom of religion. And what that means is the state will not pick a religion and force it on the people. They can't say, okay, we're going to practice. I'm just saying this, we're going to practice Catholicism. And since the government's practice it is the only religion we're going to recognize in the U.S., and we're going to force it on everybody, you have to go to mass every Sunday. You have to have your confirmation. You have to do confession. You must do this, or there'll be consequences. That's what freedom of religion means. You can be Jewish, you can be Catholic, Christian, Presbyterian, Protestant, Buddhist, whatever you want to be, and the government can't hold that against you, and they can't force anything on you. A lot of people get that confused. They think, well, it's freedom, separation of church and state. They can put up the 10 Commandments. They're not forcing you to follow that religion. It's freedom of religion. So if a local government wants to put up the 10 Commandments at a monument at their county house or wherever, there's nothing wrong with it. They're not forcing it on you. But there's a lot of atheists, liberals, who disagree. That, like I said in the prior segment, they hate religion because it brings people together. It creates, unity, cohesion. They don't like that. Unless the government is at the center of that, it's wrong. You should not be doing that. And a lot of liberals don't like being told how they're living is wrong. According to the Bible, what they're doing, you may be living in sin. And it is what it is. I've never seen, there's the Westboro Baptist Church. That's a bunch of psycho sons of bitches. I don't even consider them a religion. I consider them a bunch of nutcases waiting to get sent to the 13th floor of a hospital. But I've never seen anybody who's really, even like the Pastor Ray St.Clair would have said when I've talked to him previous, everybody's welcome to the church, no matter who you are. They don't judge. They're not judging you. They'll judge your sin. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn for him, so don't hold him to I'm saying that. But everybody's allowed to his church. They may counsel you, hey, look, how you're living is wrong. God doesn't say that. The Bible says you shouldn't do that. You need to change. But they're not going to hate you. I've never met anybody who's religious that hates anybody. They want to help people. They want to turn you away from your sin and bring you into God, and that's their job. I mean, I would be kind of wary of somebody who claims to believe in God and the church and the Bible that wouldn't go out of their way to try to help somebody who they think is sinning. I would be concerned if they didn't do that. I would question if they truly are a believer. Like, yeah, you're not really doing what I thought you'd be doing to help this person. Are you really a believer, or do you just say that because it sounds good? So yeah, I've never met a religious person that hates anybody. I've met many liberals who hate religious people, but never the other way around. So I think religion and politics should mix somewhat. I don't think one should overrule the other. I do think there's a time and place for everything. I don't think it would hurt to have some religious, undertones in D.C. I mean, it's a den of vipers. Some of the biggest liars in the world are in D.C. So maybe it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of religious, a little religion injected into that dump. Maybe it'll help. Maybe it's too far gone. I don't know, but I don't think it would hurt. I don't think living by the 10 Commandments is a bad thing. Thou shalt not murder. Shan't covet your neighbor's wife. Don't lie. Respect your honor. Honor your mother and father. What is so bad about those? What was so wrong about that? Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. I remember when I was a kid, and this is telling you how old I am. In Maryland, we had blue laws. Everything, I think, pretty much everything was closed on Sundays. Everything. And guess what? We didn't fall apart as a society. Things kept moving. And it wasn't even inconvenience then because people were just used to, oh, it's Sunday, we can't do that. We have to wait till Monday. It wasn't that big of a deal. Nothing that's preached in the Bible that if you lived by would make you a bad person. Really, I mean, think about it. Again, thou shalt not commit murder. I live by that every day. I think 99.9% of the people in the world live by that every day. Honor your mother and your father. Again, I think 99.9% of people, even atheists, live by that every day. I don't get it. Why the libs are so anti-religion. And it's not just they're anti-religion, they're violently anti-religious. It's not like they want to have a discussion about it. They want to fight you and spit on you, burn the church down and shoot people as they pray. They are violently anti-religious. And it's getting worse. It's almost every day or at least once a week now, some liberals out there killing folks. Now, I myself am not a perfect human being. I myself, while I believe in God, am not, what's the word I'm looking for? A holy person, I guess. I believe sometimes violence is the answer, and that's probably wrong. But that's how I believe. Violence sometimes is the only answer to a question you're confronted with, and that's just life. I don't think, and I hope I'm wrong, I don't think turning the other cheek and extending an olive branch to the liberals is going to work at this point. We've done that for so long, I think they view that as weakness. And that's why they do what they do, because they think we're weak. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope compromise, or not compromise because I'm anti-compromise. I hope diplomacy and talking can fix these things. I truly hope that it can. But deep down in places where I don't talk about at parties or anything like that, I don't think it's going to work. I think this is going to escalate to something horrible. Not because of us, but because of them. You can only be pushed around for so long before you have to push back. And yes, I'm well aware the Bible says, turn the other cheek. I'm well aware of that. And most of the time in our lives, we do. We don't, we get caught off in traffic and someone gives us the finger. We don't chase them down and beat them with a baseball bat. Someone jumps in front of us in line somewhere. We don't get upset and push them. And you know what? Let them do what they want to do. It's not that big a deal. Live and let live. But there comes a time when they're killing us, when they're killing people. You can't ignore that. You can't let that slide. You can't just go, oh, we'll talk to them. Let's have a conversation about this. You can't. It's costing people lives. They're burning churches. They're shooting at children. We have to draw lines. And I know, again, this is not very biblical or very righteous, and I understand that. Like I just said, I am not a holy person. I'm a human being. And I'm a human being I'm beyond scared of what I've seen. I'm angry now. I am angry. And I just can't sit back anymore and just hope and wish that this stops. And it's got nothing to do with guns. And I don't want to hear that if we ban guns, things. No, that's not going to solve anything. If we take away guns, they'll just use knives. And if we take away knives, they'll use rocks. They'll use bows and arrows. People who want to hurt you will find a way to hurt you. That's proven. It doesn't matter what they have to use, they'll use it. So taking away guns is not the answer. I think what we start is, again, like I talked about in the first segment, is we need to get the family foundation solid again. We need to work on that. We need to get to a place where both parents don't have to work full time, where one parent can be home and help with the children, and the other parent works and they can come home and help too. We need to get that foundation rock solid again, which means we have to stop looking to the government to do that. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. The government is there to cause problems. They're there to find problems, because if they find the problem, they can tell you the problem and then tell you I can fix it. If you reelect me, I can fix that problem. I promise you, I will lower taxes and make housing affordable, healthcare affordable, but you got to reelect me. And people fall for that. The answer is yourself. It's your neighbors. It's your community. That's where the change is going to start. So I think we need to get back to family, a solid foundation of the family unit. I think people who have babies out of wedlock, I'm not going to go so far as to call it a sin. I think it's stupid. If you like the person enough to have a baby with them, like him enough to marry him. And if you don't like him enough to marry him, don't have a baby with him. I don't understand. I was raised that you only date somebody that would make a good mate. So you date people that you would want to be in a relationship with. So I would hope that would extend to having sex, that you have sex with somebody that you'd want to have a relationship with. And I know I'm not stupid. I'm not naive. And again, I'm not perfect. So I understand that's an outdated method of thinking. But it shouldn't be. And again, it goes back to the family. It's how you're raised. I think interjecting religion back into the family is not going to hurt anything. How could living by a set of morals that pretty much teaches you to love everybody, hate the sin, take care of your community, how is that a bad thing? How is living by that going to cause problems? It can't. Now, the problem is, and I understand that it's like with Islam, you have extremists who take it to the ninth degree. Like, oh, it says this, but what they really mean is cut off the heads of infidels. There will always be people like that. Not so much in any other religion as is in Islam, but there are people who will take zealots that will take it to the nth level and just run with it. That's not so prevalent in the Christian religion. It's not so prevalent in Judaism or any other religion. I think Islam's got the market cornered on that. But there's nothing wrong with religion. The 10 Commandments, again, there's nothing wrong. How would your life be worse if you lived by those 10 Commandments? It'd be a good thing. So I don't understand the big push. But that's, I think, we get back to the family unit. We start, heck, go back to church. Read the Bible, something. Focus. Religion helps you focus on the good. It's a focal point. It'll carry you through tough times. And I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, a religious person. I have not been given the gift of faith. What I had, I lost for personal reasons. But that doesn't mean I don't believe. I firmly believe that there's a God, someone higher above us that may not, grant miracles, but watches and takes note and has a vested interest in how we live our lives. I'm sorry. And I begrudge no man their religion. I never have any. Well, Islam, I have a problem with them. in general, not specifically. But I don't begrudge anybody their religious beliefs. I don't. Like I said, I've never met a Christian that made me scared. I've been a lot of libs that scare me, but never a Christian, never a Jew, never a Protestant, nothing. A lot of libs have scared me because of their anti-everything. So yeah, I think politics and religion should mix 90-10. I mean, if nothing else, pull the moral lessons and teachings from the Bible, try to interject them into politics, and it can't hurt. Again, thou shalt not kill, don't covet your neighbor's wife. I mean, these are things that are perfectly fine to live by. I don't know why people are so up in arms about that or against that. It just goes back to upbringing. Again, everything goes back to the family. Every problem we have in the world, every problem we have in this country, I guarantee, like, if you look back at some of these people that go shoot people up, schools and churches, you go far enough back, there was probably a problem in their family. Something happened that changed their view. I can't stress how important the family is. I can't. That's why every Christmas and Thanksgiving, I always, on my page on Facebook, I said, look, if you got nowhere to go, you got no family, you let me know, you come eat dinner with us. We'll hang out. I don't want anybody to be alone on those holidays. If you don't have a family, that's the worst time not to have a family. And that's why I always open my house. No one's ever taken me up on it, probably because they heard I can't cook, so I don't blame them. But that I've always made that offer for Jesus, going on 10 years now. Always. And that's another thing that, religious people are. They're very giving. Hey, let me help you with this, or come help me with that. Or like when I was out of work for 3.5 months because of my foot. I don't know how many people who, Christians, who brought me lunch or dinner or called me up and said, hey, do you need anything done in your house? I'll come do it for you. Or who help with my bills when I wasn't working. That's what Christians and Jews and people who follow God do. That's what they're told to do. What is wrong with that? And when people do that to you, you want to do that for other people. Because what's it called? Pay it forward. You don't want to be the schmuck that doesn't help anybody. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to help anybody. You don't want to be that guy. So you do what you can to help people. And like I've said before, I've helped lots of people. I've done lots of things. But one thing I won't do is come on here and pound my chest and say, look at me. Look at what I've done. Look who I've helped. This is how I helped. It's not your business. That's between me and the people I've helped. And that's how it will always stay. I will never, ever brag about that. Because if you do charity and you tell nobody about it, that's called charity. If you do it but make sure everybody knows about it, that's called conducting business. And I'm not going to conduct business with people's lives. Never have, never will. And if people have to say, well, then you haven't helped anybody, I don't care if you believe me or not. I know I have. Those people know I have, and God knows I have. Those are the only people I worry about. My family too. That's it. Beyond that, if you don't believe me, I don't know what to tell you. Other than I don't care. And that's a great thing about getting old. When you get older, you care less and less and less about what other people think. You start to focus on what's important, your family and your friends. And outside of that circle, you really don't care anymore. Like, when you're younger, you're petrified. Like, what do they think about me? I didn't get invited to that party because they don't like me. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Same person when they're 50. Fuck them. I don't care. I'd rather stay home anyway. Or I'd rather go hang out with my kid, or I'd rather go see my buddy. It's great getting older. For all the bad things that happen, like your body falling apart, you got aches in places you never knew you had places, you get up to pee a lot in the middle of the night. For all the bad that comes with it, it gets good mentally. I mean, you focus, you become more aware of what's important. And I wish that were the other way around. I wish you started off achy and then got better, like with Benjamin Button. That would be awesome. Would they say that, youth is wasted on the young? It's true. So yeah, religion and politics can mix, but it's got to be careful because, like I said, there's zealots in every religion. It's got to be aware of that. But again, living by the principles and ethics in the Bible aren't going to hurt anybody. They're there to propagate love and make things better for people, not to cost things. So yeah, I'm for a responsible mixture of religion and politics. That's how I would answer that question. And I hope that makes sense to everybody. I mean, it might not. I mean, if I were watching this, I might go, what the hell is he talking about? But I hope it makes sense. And again, if you have any questions or anything you want to add, please put it in the chat. This this whole show is being winged. I'm making this up as I go because, again, Pastor Ray St.Clair lives in the Midwest. They're having horrible flash flooding where he lives, and his power is not good. He's got really weak signal, so we decided it's best to him take care of his family. He'll be on the show again. So this whole show I had was set up to have him, whereas I have some questions. So I'm trying to answer the questions I had by myself that I would have given him. So I hope, again, we'll get him on and you'll get the real skinny because he's a very smart man. I've talked to him before, very gracious, very humble man, but he has the answers. I just have opinions. So there's that. So when we come back, we'll talk about some more stuff and see where it goes.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
So again, Alexandra Levine's our White House correspondent. She gets to go down to all the cool stuff. They keep me locked in a cage in the back of the building because that's probably the safest thing to do with me. I don't think I would fit in with that crowd very long. I mean, I could wing it for like an hour. Then the sailor would come out and I would start cussing and calling them liars and not being very diplomatic. So it's a good thing. She's even-tempered, much more than I am. And once again, we have Damon Sherrod, the puppet master behind everything, making sure the show runs good, that everything goes off without a hiccup. So we want to thank him for all he does and keeping me in line, because that in itself is a full-time job. You all don't understand. The man is 27 years old, but if you look at him, he looks like he's 50. I have aged him horribly in the short time I've been here. And I take full responsibility for that. So where do we go here moving forward, which is a good question. Again, this would have been a question we would have asked the pastor about, and I will do my best to answer it. Again, my opinion. I don't think we've hit rock bottom yet. I think there's still some crap we're going to go through before we hit the bottom and can start to come back up. I don't know how long that's going to be. It could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be next year, it could be 10 years. But I don't think we've reached the bottom yet, which is frightening. I think we're in for a long ride. I think we need to buckle down. Again, take care of your family. Be active in your community. And be ready. I think things like that happened today with that church burning and shooting in Michigan, it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse. And that's sad. Like I said, you can't even go to church nowadays and feel safe. And that's sad. I think that's what the left wants. They want you to be in fear of everything, no matter where you go. They want you to be afraid. They want you to stay home. I mean, think about this. You can order your groceries from home. You can have doctor's appointments from home on Zoom. You can talk to people over the phone, over Zoom, and never have to see them, but interact with them. You can work from home. They're trying to design everything to where you never have to leave your house, i.e., you never have to have human interaction with anybody ever again. You can stay at home and live a good life because you get everything you need delivered to you. I think that's what they ultimately want. I mean, heck, you can even attend church services on the internet now. You don't even have to be in church. Now, this may sound like a conspiracy theory, like Seth needs to put on his tinfoil hat. He's going off the deep end. But think about it. Why would they want to make sure everything you can do from home and never leave unless they want you to, like, again, no longer have human interaction? Isolate yourself. Be dependent on the government to provide power and everything you need to get everything done. Not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just thinking out loud here. If you don't ever have to leave your home to get anything done, there are some people who never will. And that's what they want. If you stay at home and you can do everything from your computer and they can cut that off you're easier to control. Think about it. It's like that little chip now you can get in your arm that has all your records on it and they can scan it and get it. I will never in a million years do that. I won't allow my children to do that. Think about it. These are all things, and if you read the Bible, these are all in the Bible. Mark of the beast. They want to do away with cash. They want you to be solely dependent on them. Credit card or that chip, or wherever they can put it, and have everything you ever owned or have on that chip. Electric cars. They can shut those off. This is all to get you away from depending on your family to depending on them. It's hideous. It's insidious. And I'm not making all this. You can look up online and find out. The chip, you can find out. There was I can't remember where I read it, but there was a lady, it was somewhere in America, maybe California, had a thing in her arm, and as her bank account was tied to it, they showed her going to the cash register and putting her form out, and they scanned it. And she's like, "Ooh, look, I don't have to carry a wallet anymore. Ooh, look, I'm solely dependent on the government. They could cut my cash off anytime they want to. I'm a sucker." This is all talked about in the Bible. Maybe not word for word. They didn't talk about a chip and, RFID and all that kind of stuff, but they talked about the mark of the beast, that you don't have the mark, you can't get fed, you can't make money, nothing. I'm telling you. And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I truly am not, but it's hard not to draw parallels. And they're not a stretch. So moving forward, what I think we need to do is get back to basics. Stop looking at the government to solve all our problems. There's nothing wrong with going to church. Again, if you just go to church to get that message and to have that fellowship, that's fine. If you go to church because that's what you truly believe, that's fine. Either reason to go to church is not going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. If you go just to be around your friends and hear somebody talk and maybe something rubs off on you, what is the worst thing that's going to happen to you? Really? If you live your life by the Bible, the 10 Commandments, and what God said, love one another, is your life going to be worse or better? I think it'd be better. I don't think there's any negatives, listening to what Jesus said and living your life by that. Following the 10 Commandments and living your life by that. I don't see a negative to any of that. And again, yes, there are people who would carry that all the way to the 10th degree and turn it into something it's not, and you can't control that. There's nothing you can do about that. Let people do what they want to do. As long as it doesn't affect you or your family, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you should want to do about it. Let them live the way they want to live. Look at the Amish. Very religious, very clannish. They don't even deal with the outside world because we're all crazy as shit compared to them. And they live pretty good lives. They don't bother anybody. They seem very happy, very content. And I don't even think they get inoculations or vaccines for their children. They all seem pretty healthy to me. So use that as an example. Well, it can't be done. Then explain the Amish community. How do they do it? If you're telling me you can't live a righteous religious life according to the Bible and live a good life, how are the Amish people doing it? What is their secret? What do they know that we don't know? They even have their own schools. They don't even send their kids to public school because they know how screwed up those are. Come on. They've been doing it for centuries. There's nothing wrong with that. I applaud them. I wish I had the willpower and the faith it takes to live like that. I got nothing but respect for them. And people say, well, they're rude. They don't talk. If I were them, I wouldn't want to talk to me either. It's not rude. It's common sense. We live like crap. They live as righteous as you can be, as far as I can tell. They live a pretty righteous life. The hammer's on. Let's see what the hammer asked me, because I did say I'd answer any question anybody asked. Let me put this up here so everybody can see it. What do you think about Democratic elected officials calling the Republicans fascists, Nazis, ICE, the Gestapo? And when these bad things happen, school shootings, church shootings, etc., they say we don't condone political violence. Then the next day they're right back at it with the rhetoric. That is a really good question, Hammer. I think they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Do I think they don't condone political violence? No, I think they do. They may not condone it to the degree that we're seeing happening now with shootings and killings. I don't think I don't think a vast majority of them condone it to that level. I think they'd be okay with the riots and the marches and the protests. Some of them I think are okay with the violence. No one should condone that kind of violence. I mean, what did these people in the church, and maybe he'll have in his stupid letter they're going to find or some reason. Again, nothing that these people say will ever make you go, oh, okay, I understand why you did what you did. I can respect that. Maybe the guy that shot up, this guy that shot up the church, what did those people do to him? What did they do to him that was so bad that his only recourse was to kill them or attempt to kill them and then burn the church down? What happened to him? What did they do to him? And I guarantee somewhere down the line, we're going to hear that he thought they were preaching hate and all sorts of other crap, but nothing. Even if they were preaching hate, you don't go kill the people. You don't burn the church down. I think they're idiots. I think they should be held responsible. I think when you call people fascists, Nazis, and call the ICE and police Gestapo enough, the sick people out in the world believe you. They start to listen and think that you're telling the truth. And these sick people in their minds can go, hey, they're just Nazis. What's wrong with killing a Nazi? I'm just killing Nazis. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, the police and the ICE are Gestapo. In Nazi Germany, they used to round up people and kill them. So I'm just going to kill them before they kill other people. There's nothing wrong with that. Fascists. The Republics are fascists. They're working with the Nazis and the Gestapo, so I have to stop them. I'm saving people by killing them. That's what these sick people think. And the Democrats feed into that. They continually use these words like fascists, like you said, fascists, Nazis, Gestapo. And they act shocked when somebody acts on what they say. I think they should be held accountable for what they said. I think they should face legal action. If you have some moron like, what's her name? Crockett, Jasmine full of shit Crock, out there talking about Trump's a fascist, or these people are Nazis, or they're rounding up people, kidnapping them off the street. We don't know where they go. She should be held accountable for anything that happens to law enforcement or anybody else in her district based on what she says. And that goes for any politician, Republican or Democrat. And again, it's a vast majority of Democrats that do this. I'm not saying it's 50-50. I'm not even saying it's 60-40. It's more like 90-10, maybe 85-15. But it's a vast majority of liberals who espouse hate. It's a vast majority of liberals who commit these horrible acts, these murderers. It's a vast majority. And it's because their leaders promote it. So you can't call someone a Nazi and not be condoning violence. You can't call the police and ICE Gestapo and say they're rounding up people off the street and kidnapping them and then be shocked when somebody acts on that. You are condoning violence in a roundabout way because you don't have the balls to directly say to do it. You're skirting around the issue. But at the end of the day, you must condone it because you continually talk about it and make sure everybody hears you saying it. So that's what I think, Dan. I think they're accountable. I think they need to take a step back and stop worrying about their next election cycle and getting reelected and worry about the people they're causing to be hurt, the people they're causing to be murdered. It's their fault. It's their fault. When you get into the public eye and you become a leader or a representative of a district or a state, you have some responsibilities. You need to temper your speech. It's that simple. And I'm not saying infringe on their First Amendment speech. I'm saying you need to be aware of who's listening to you and make sure what you're saying is what you want people to hear because you're going to be held accountable. That's all I can say. And again, this all goes back to family. If you grew up in a good family that was loving and supportive, 9 times out of 10, you will never grow up to hurt people. Even if you hear your leaders tell you how evil these people are, you won't grow up to do that. If you have a basis in religion, you're not going to grow up and kill people because that's not what it's about. So again, this all goes back to the family. We need to make sure the family unit in this country makes a comeback. We have to do whatever we can to make sure that happens. And again, it's not going to start in D.C. That's where it will end. It will end in D.C., but it will start in your home and your community and your neighborhood and your county and your state. That's how it's going to grow. We are the government. We the people. There's a reason why that's there. Because we are in charge. We know best how to run our lives. We know what's best for us. We know what's best when it comes to raising our children and educating our children. We know what's best. Some bureaucrat you've never met, 80 miles, 800 or 3,000 miles down the road, doesn't know anything about you. Never will. So how can they decide what's best for you and your family? They can't. They can't. That's why we need to get the most conservative people elected, because they're not going to interfere in your life. They're not going to tell you how to live. They're going to say, look, this is what we like, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you do. We're not here to run your lives. We're not here to raise your children. We're here to govern a country, here to make sure you have the necessities and the infrastructure you need to live a good life. Beyond that, we're not getting involved anymore. Liberals are the exact opposite. We're going to be involved in everything you do. We're going to be in your schools. We want to be in your churches. We want to be in your homes. We're going to be in your communities, in your workplace. We're going to be everywhere you go to make sure you're doing what you should be doing. And what you should be doing is what we think is right. And if you're not doing what you should be doing, we're going to get you. Yeah, it's about the family. It's all about the family. That's where it starts, and that's where it's going to end. Take care of your family. Raise a good family. Raise your boys to be good men. Raise your daughters to be good women. Raise them to be empathetic. Raise them to be caring and concerned citizens. Don't raise them to be victims. Don't raise them to think that the government's going to answer all their problems or that they have to depend on the government for everything. Don't raise them to be like that. Raise them to be self-sufficient, independent, God-fearing human beings. There's nothing wrong with that. Once we get away from the government as the answer to all our problems and get back to neighborhoods, communities, and our homes and taking care of our families, things will get exponentially better quickly. Once we stop looking to D.C. for help, we're going to get better. The nation will start to heal. When we turn off CNN and C-SPAN and all these news outlets, and we go talk to our neighbor if we got a problem. Hey, what about this? I heard about this. What did you hear? Start talking to people face to face. Get out there and meet your neighbors. I can guarantee you I can do a poll of like 2,000 people, random. And I can go, who's your favorite football team? Can you name 5 players off your favorite football team? What was their record last year? What was the last year they won the Super Bowl? Most people could rattle that off. Not even football, just your favorite sports team. Keep it like that. They could rattle off stats all day long. I could follow that question up with what's your neighbor's name? And what's your kid's third period teacher? And what do they teach them? They couldn't answer the question. I'm willing to bet more than half could not answer those questions. That's sad. That's sad. We need to get away from idolizing sports people and idolizing politicians and actors and idolize our family. Make them just as important, if not more important, than your favorite quarterback or favorite pitcher. That's where your energy needs to be. That's where you need to focus. Because none of this is guaranteed. You are not promised today or tomorrow. What you have is what you have right now. You need to make the most of it. I mean, you need to ask yourself every time you wake up in the morning and you go to work, yesterday, is what I did something that I want my kids to remember? If I die today, will my kids remember me as a good person or a bad person? Will my friends think of me as a good friend or a bad friend? We need to start worrying about, well, if I die today, what will happen with my job? I need to get that promotion. When you're dying, your kids are not going to remember the times you worked overtime or all the times you were at the office. You're like, oh, Dad was such a great guy. He worked all that overtime. They're going to remember going fishing with him, having dinner at the table, talking about things. That's what's important. No one has ever been on their deathbed and said, damn, if I only spent more time at the office. Nobody. And it's sad that we have to get to that point in our lives when we realize everything we thought that was important isn't. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference what we thought was important. Who our favorite football team was. How many stats I could rattle off. What promotions I got at work. What kind of car I drive. Or what my title is. Or how much money I make a year. When we get to that last minute in our life, when you're on that deathbed and you're surrounded by your family, you realize that instant, none of that matters. None of it. And I'm not a hippie. I'm not. I'm as conservative as you can get. But I also realize what's important in this nation. And I don't know why. Is it because we turned our back on God? Is it because we allow anybody to come in this country with their own beliefs and we cater to them rather than them cater to us? Is it because hundreds of other thousands of other reasons? I don't know why. All I know is we have to turn away from that and go back to what made this country great. Family. Family. Everything that happened in this country was for families. People fighting for their family, fighting for the right for their family to do this or that, or worship whatever God they wanted to worship, or live the way they wanted to live. That's what started this country. We got away from oppression, and we're welcoming it back. We're letting it come back, and we don't even bat an eye. It's like I said, I've gotten past the scared. I'm at the angry part. I can't be the only person that notices this. I can't be the only person that sees this. I know I can't be, because there's 6 of you listening to me now. So I know at least 6 of you. 6 of you have somewhat of the same idea and same beliefs as I do. So you 6 need to tell 6 other people. And then those 6 got to tell 6 more. That's how this thing starts. And I'm not saying turn your back on the government. We don't need them. What I'm saying is they have a role. They need to play their role. More importantly, they need to know their role. And maybe we need to remind them what their role is. Your role doesn't include my household. Your role doesn't include being in my kid's classroom. Your role is in D.C. to make sure my roads are safe, my bridges are safe, buildings are fine, and that my country is well defended. Beyond that, I don't need you. I don't. We did just fine for all those centuries without a big government telling us what to do. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But I think once we get back to the family unit being the most important thing, things will get better. And that includes religion. I don't see a problem with religion. I don't see a problem with a foundation based in God. I don't see a problem with it. Others do, and I can prove it to you. Guy shot up the church. Guy shot Charlie Kirk. Other guy went to the private Catholic school shooting people. I can show you that the liberals don't like religion. They don't like God. They don't like people not worshiping government. I can prove it. It's right there. It happened today. So yeah, focus on what's important. If you focus on what's important and you take care of what's important, everything else will fall in line. Trust me. You take care of the little picture, the big picture comes into focus. And the little picture is your family. It starts at your home, at your dinner table. Turn off the TV. Hell, turn off my podcast. If it's dinner time, go sit with your family. Turn off all the electronic stuff you have. Sit down and talk. Ask about your kid's day. Ask your wife or your husband what they did today. Hell, before it gets to that, ask your wife or husband if you can help them cook. That little thing will pay dividends. You may not be around to see it, but it'll pay dividends down the road. Your kids will do the same thing. They'll have a strong family. They'll have a family that does the right thing. Not all the time, because nobody's perfect, but they'll do the right thing more often than not. And that will carry on to their family and their family. And then one day, 100 years down the road, your great-great-great-grandkids will be sitting around eating whatever they're going to be eating back then. Hopefully it won't be like Impossible meat or vegetarian chicken or whatever. They'll be eating whatever they eat. And someone's going to go, hey, do you remember Grandpa, great-great-great-great-granddad Seth? I read that, I heard from Granddad that he heard from his granddad, so on, that, he was big on family dinners and they used to sit down. So he said that was very important. They'll remember you. So in essence, you'll never be dead. You'll never be gone. You will always be there. And for a good reason. So yeah, don't mistake unimportant stuff with important stuff. Don't let people tell you the government's important. Or it's important that we help everybody in the world, or we help, all the illegal aliens. That's not important. What's important is at your dinner table, in your house right now. People who share your last name. Those are what's important. Your friends are important. Your title at work doesn't mean shit to anybody except you. Nobody cares. And if they do care, they're not your friends and they're not important, because they have the depth of a sheet of paper and they're materialistic and they're not going to help you when push comes to shove. You know who's going to help you when push comes to shove? Your friend who makes fun of you and calls you names, who when you insult, just insults you back worse. That's who will be there when you need help. Your family, they will be there more often than not when you need help. When you're on your deathbed, I guarantee you're not going to see the CEO of your company that you worked for 30 years and made hundreds of millions of dollars for. You're not going to see him at your deathbed. Your family is who's going to be there. Your friends will be there. And again, it's sad that at that final moment, we realized with crystal clear clarity what's important. I wish everybody could realize that years before that happened. And that's why I said we don't know what's in our future. You're not promised tomorrow. We have right now. Make right now important. Because like those people at the church today, I guarantee you they had plans for after church. I guarantee it. So if it's important, you got to let people know it's important. Tell them that they're important to you. Build those bonds with your family, with your friends, and your neighbors. Build those bonds. You're not going to agree with everybody. Everybody in your neighborhood is not going to be conservative, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is everybody's trying to protect their family and raise their family the best way they know can. We're just coming at it from different directions, and you got to keep that in mind when you deal with schmucks. You may not like him. You may never talk to him again, and that's fine. You've made the attempt. You tried to get to know him. They were an idiot, whatever. But you made the attempt, and your family's going to see that. And that's what's really important. Those connections. Your connection with your neighbors, your family, your connection with God. Those are all very important. Don't think for 1 minute they're not. Don't let the government downplay it. Don't let your local government downplay it. Don't let the Board of Education tell you that they know best what's best for your family, and your kids need to learn about transsexuals and homosexuals and furries and whatever bullcrap is going on now. Don't let them tell you that. If that's not what you think your family needs, then you tell them that's not what my family needs, and you pull them out of that school and you homeschool or you find a private school. Stop letting the government dictate to you what's best inside your home for your family. Oh, Seth, that's easy to say. I can't quit work and do all that. If it's important, you'll find a way. It's really that simple. Homeschool doesn't mean it's just you. There are neighborhoods and communities now, crazy, that have homeschool schools. They have a house they go to, or they alternate houses during the week or every week. They have hired teachers who were in the public school but quit because they don't agree with what's being taught in public schools. They give these teachers the curriculum they want their children taught, and it's taught. It can be done. It can be done. Nothing worth doing is easy to do. I tell my son that all the time. And the harder it is to do, normally means it's the right thing to do. If it's easy to do, more often than not, you probably shouldn't be doing it, or you're doing it wrong, or it's a shortcut, and you're going to have to come back and do it again. Doing the right thing takes time and is hard. And it should be, because you'll appreciate it more when it's done. See, these are things that are important, and they should be important. It's just, again, it's going to take a concerted effort to get back to that. Again, Trump is trying, but Trump is one person fighting his own party. We got to stop laying things at his feet and saying, here, fix it. Take care of this. You do it. Start looking to your family. Look into your community. Like I said, I'm going to keep repeating that because it's important. That is very important. Stay off social media. It's nothing but idiots. Nothing but liars. They're jokes. I'm looking at something I posted. I don't even want to get into it because people are idiots. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that because I'm going to blow up. And I've tried to keep it civil this whole cast. If I start talking about what I'm seeing on Facebook, I'm going to lose my shit, and it's going to revert to me screaming and yelling, that vein popping out of my head, and I'm in pain with my foot already. I don't want to add a stroke or an aneurysm to that, so I'm not going to talk. Just stay off Facebook, really, unless it's for comic relief, or you're looking at it to go, geez, my life ain't that bad. Look at this moron. Don't go on Facebook. And that's at my detriment because I have a page. Don't even go look at my page because there's idiots that get on my page and spout their verbal diarrhea, and it's annoying. So don't even look at my page. Really, stay off social media. It will be one of the reasons society downfalls. I guarantee it. Have unlimited access to any information ever in the history of our planet, and people go in there to argue with people they've never met, never seen, never spoke to, because they posted a picture of something they don't like, and they will argue about it. Sums up society pretty much as a whole. So stay off social media. Go to church instead. Damn. Yeah, go to church instead of spending time on social media. Read a book. Read a book to your family. Read the Bible. Read the Talmud. Something. Stay off social media. Let that just wither on the vine and die. It needs to go anyway. It's not anything good. It's produced nothing but grief and anger and stress. Let it go. It's not worth your aggravation. It's not worth your time. I mean, I think I read somewhere people spend like an average of 20% of their time, 10 to 15% of their time online on social media. That's a lot of time. So don't. Cut it down. Let them. Those billionaires don't need you anymore anyway. They've got enough money to last 17 lifetimes. And I don't begrudge them that. They found the niche. They made their money. That's awesome. Power to them. I wish I had thought of it. But it's outlived its usefulness. It's no longer useful. It's a breeding ground for stupidity. I can't. Okay. Anyway, stay off social media. Bunch of idiots. Some of these people that post this stuff, I honestly don't know how they dress themselves in the morning. I really, really don't. I'm shocked that they even know how to use a computer with some of the crap they spew out. It's amazing. My father told me when I was a kid, and it took me years to realize what he meant, but I finally did. He told me one time, if heartbeat and breathing weren't involuntary, there'd be a lot of dead people in the world. And I used to think, well, yeah, of course it would be. But as I got older, I realized you'd have to think. I got to breathe, got to get my heartbeat, got to think. A lot of people don't think. So if they had to think about that, yes, they'd be dead. Like I said, it took me a few years to figure that out. But it's true. I don't think we're doomed as a society. I think we still got a chance. But like I said, it starts with the family. All right. Well, I think I've rambled on enough. I hope you enjoyed today's show, even though it was thrown together as it was going. If you're interested in having your own podcast, again, go to AmericaPulseNetwork.com, left-hand side menu, and then follow the instructions. Again, we have Damon Galdo's show, The Hammer, 2 days a week plus a radio show. Alexandra Levine has her own 2 shows. Then we all have The Pulse on Wednesday, which runs for about an hour and a half. We talk about all sorts of things. We have special guests. Usually it's Elena Barbera. And sometimes the second person's a wild card. But again, it's a great show. And you have me every Sunday, 7 to 8:30-ish on the conservative corner. So I want to end today with my opinion like I normally do. It was based on today's show. So bear with me. It'll make more sense when we get Pastor Ray St.Clair on. As we peer into the horizon of the coming years, the world feels like a ship navigating turbulent waters. Climate crisis, technical upheavals, and societal divisions cast long shadows, stirring uncertainty even in the steadiest of hearts. Yet, for those of us who anchor their lives in faith in God, there is an unyielding promise. We are not alone. Faith in God offers a divine compass, a source of strength, and a wellspring of hope that will carry us through the challenges and triumphs of the future. Faith in God is more than a belief. It's a relationship, a trust in a loving Creator who holds the world in His hands. This faith assures us that no matter how chaotic the years ahead may seem, God's presence is constant. The Bible reminds us in Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God." These words are a lifeline, offering courage when the path grows steep. In the face of global uncertainties, whether economic instability, wars, or moral dilemmas, faith in God provides a foundation that cannot be shaken. The coming years will demand resilience. A faith in God equips us with a unique kind of fortitude. It teaches us to surrender our fears and place our trust in a plan far greater than our own. This surrender is not weakness, but strength, an acknowledgement that God's wisdom surpasses human understanding. When we face trials, whether personal struggles or societal upheavals, faith invites us to lean on prayer, to seek guidance, and to trust that God is working all things for good, as promised in Romans 8:28. This perspective transforms challenges into opportunities for growth, deepening our reliance on God. Moreover, faith in God fosters unity and compassion, qualities the world will desperately need. It calls us to love our neighbors, to serve the hurting, and to stand for justice, reflecting God's heart for humanity. In a fractured world, believers can be beacons of hope, building communities grounded in love and grace, whether through acts of charity, forgiveness, or simply offering a listening ear. Faith in God empowers us to be his hands and feet, creating ripples of change that echo beyond our immediate circumstances. Faith also offers hope in the eternal. The coming years may bring trials. They will bring trials, but they are temporary in light of God's everlasting promise. For believers, the assurance of eternal life provides perspective that transcends the fleeting anxieties of this world. As Jesus said in John 16:33, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." This truth anchors us, reminding us that our ultimate destination is secure, no matter what storms we face. As we step into the great unknown, faith in God is our greatest asset. It does not promise a life without struggle, but guarantees a Savior who walks with us through every valley. It calls us to live with purpose, to act with courage, and to trust in God who is sovereign over all. In the coming years, let us hold fast to this faith, praying boldly, loving fiercely, and trusting wholly in God's unfailing love. With him as our guide, we will not only endure, but shine as lights in a world that needs his hope more than ever. Again, that's just my opinion. You can tell me to kick rocks, pound sand, whatever you want me to tell me. Just my opinion. So thanks for joining me this evening. Again, I apologize, and as I'm sure Pastor Ray St.Clair apologizes. Weather had caused unforeseen events. He couldn't be here. We will get him on as soon as we can. I hope you'll join us again for that, because he's a great man, very, very humble, and knows a lot. Thanks for watching me. Again, I'm humbled that you spend time with me on Sunday nights. I will see you Wednesday at 8, and I will see you again next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel. So thanks for joining me. And again, remember, if you live your life set on a base set of principles rather than a party, you're going to lead a very good life, something you can be proud of.